As the nation heads into the Memorial Day weekend with its commander-in-chief seemingly not in a solemn or reflective mood, but perhaps a more vengeful one. Today in the Oval Office, the president was asked about his administration's latest attack on Harvard University. Just yesterday, the Department of Homeland Security announced they were revoking the school's ability to enroll foreign students.
Are you considering stopping other universities besides Harvard from accepting foreign students?
Well, we're taking a look at a lot of things, and as you know, billions of dollars has been paid to Harvard. How ridiculous is that? Billions. And they have $52 billion as an endowment. They have $52 billion. And this country is paying billions and billions of dollars and then gives student loans and they have to pay back the loans. So Harvard's going to have to change its ways. So are some others.
Well, Harvard is, of course, not the only university that's been targeted by the Trump administration, or even the only university targeted yesterday. The Department of Health and Human Services accused Columbia of violating federal civil rights law by acting with what they call deliberate indifference toward harassment of Jewish students on campus since the October 7th attacks. It caps off a very busy week for the president and those in his administration in regards to investigations. Peter Baker, chief White House correspondent for the New York Times, posted on X a list of those who were, as he wrote, charged, investigated, or threatened with investigation by Trump or his team just in recent days. Here's his list: Letitia James, Andrew Cuomo, LaMonica McIver, Democratic member of Congress, Kamala Harris, Bruce Springsteen, Beyonce, Bono, Oprah Winfrey, James Comey, unnamed treasonous Biden aides, the city of Chicago, and the Kennedy Center. As for Harvard, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem announced she was essentially banning these students from attending after she says the university failed to hand over 5 years of records on international students, specifying they should include any disciplinary actions as well as audio and video footage of any protest activity the students participated in. Harvard says they complied with the records request. Today, the university filed suit in federal court. They argued it was clear retaliation for Harvard exercising its First Amendment rights to reject the government's demands to control Harvard's governance, curriculum, and the ideology of its faculty and students. Now, the suit went on to say, with the stroke of a pen, the government has sought to erase a quarter of Harvard's student body. Foreign students do make up 27% of Harvard's enrollment this year. Even for a school with an endowment as large as Harvard's, potentially losing such a massive part of its students is no small threat. There are also concerns at other universities that whatever happens, it'll lead to a chilling effect, that the best and brightest students from around the world will not want to risk coming to any American institution for fear their lives and their studies could be upended by a mercurial administration. This is just the latest financial blow dealt to Harvard by the Trump administration. The White House already froze more than $2.6 billion in federal grants and contracts, and the IRS is making plans to revoke Harvard's tax-exempt status. Late today, some breaking news in the case. A federal judge granted a reprieve, temporarily halting the ban on foreign students, saying the school, quote, will sustain immediate and irreparable injury if the governments were allowed to revoke the school's certification before the court could consider the matter. A hearing is set for next week. I want to check in with Jason Carroll, who's in Cambridge, Massachusetts right now near Harvard University. You spoke with some international students. What did they tell you, Jason?
Well, certainly, Anderson, there's a lot of uncertainty here on campus, a lot of unease. The students that we spoke to really feel as though this is not just an attack on Harvard. They feel like this is an attack generally on higher education. And the international students here basically feel as though they're just being caught in the middle of it all. For many international students at Harvard, being accepted and coming here is a dream come true, a dream many now fear is coming to an end.
I came to this place because I love this country and I love the values that it stands for and its openness to people of different backgrounds. And I truly believe that that is still America. But right now, Trump is attacking all of those values.
I'm in limbo, and the government has showed its hand here, and it showed to what lengths it is willing to go.
Vidcare and students like him are now faced with big decisions. Do they stay and hope the courts permanently block the Trump administration's order banning Harvard from admitting international students, or not take the risk and leave?
Right now, we are not sure. No one is sure if we are legally allowed in the U.S. or not.
Abdullah Syed Sael is Harvard student body president and a sophomore studying applied mathematics. Do you feel confident that you will be able to come back and study in the fall?
Not at all. Not even close. I'm not confident about that.
The administration says its efforts are in part an effort to get Harvard to do more to stop anti-Semitism on campus. This international student from Israel says while the university could take more action, she does not believe the Trump administration's decisions are helping.
This specific measure targets a population that is not actually in position to fight any of it, and that is also going to include, among others, Jewish and Israeli students who have been experiencing this anti-Semitism and hostile environment for the past 2 years, and now are also experiencing this mess.
Harvard professor Ryan Eno says even if the courts ultimately decide in Harvard's favor, the damage may already be done.
I am not sure I can look to a student now with a straight face and say, I can guarantee what's going to be in the future for you. And that's a really sad thing.
And Anderson, one other point that the professor wanted to make is he says oftentimes there are so many of these students who come to him looking for advice. These international students now have been coming to him asking what they should do, And he told me, he said, look, I can't look at them straight in the eye with confidence and tell them specifically what their next step should be.
Yeah. Mr. Carroll, thanks very much. I want to get perspective now from Massachusetts Congressman Jake Auchincloss, who's also a Harvard alumnus. So, Congressman, the White House says enrolling foreign students is a privilege, not a right. What do you say?
Anderson, good evening. Thanks for having me on. I think Donald Trump is behaving just like the unhinged anti-Israel campus protesters that he's claiming he opposes. He's performative, he's illogical, he's cruel, and he's doing nothing to help address anti-Semitism on campus. Bullying students from Nigeria, from China, from Europe does not help students from Israel.
You were actually critical of Harvard for some of their response to protests. DHS says it took this action because Harvard didn't sufficiently respond to its demand for information about every student who's there on a visa. The university said it did provide that information and says that the government's real motive is retribution from the stemming from ideological demands it made to the school in April to ban DEI initiatives and restrict campus protests. What do you think is at the heart of this?
I am a ferocious critic of how Harvard responded to October 7th. There's a direct line from the anti-Semitism that was allowed to flourish on Harvard and other elite campuses, and the type of anti-Semitic violence that we saw 2 days ago in Washington, D.C. Anti-Semitic words do become anti-Semitic murders, and the inability of progressives to check and condemn that anti-Semitism on the left has allowed these tragedies to unfurl, whether at Governor Shapiro's house or elsewhere. So I remain very critical of progressive institutions that won't check anti-Semitism on the left, but MAGA is not the organization or the movement that's going to address that. I mean, the hypocrisy on the hard right is just as galling. You've got Tucker Carlson and others who are courting Holocaust denials. You've got the Republicans on the same night that these two young Jews were gunned down in Washington, D.C., voting to subsidize the purchase of silencers for pistols. So hard right, extreme left, neither side is equipped to help build out a liberal, truth-seeking culture on these campuses, which is what Harvard needs.
Well, what do you think the impact of getting rid of, I mean, if it happens, getting rid of all the foreign students, which is 27% of the student body this year, not just has on universities, but also on American businesses? I mean, these are often the best and the brightest students from around the world who will then go on to work for American companies or tech companies here, doing cutting-edge research, cutting-edge, innovation.
Without doubt, Anderson, high-skilled immigration to our universities is an economic boon. I'll give you one example of that. Everyone's talking about generative AI and the impact of AI. The 2017 paper, Attention is All You Need, was a seminal piece of research that really launched this new AI era that we're in. There were 8 authors on that paper. 7 of them, Anderson, were immigrants, and the 8th was the grandson of refugees. The cutting-edge research that this country does is done with an accent.
Do you think the president's allies just want to be able to say that they brought Harvard to its knees? I mean, it's a world-famous, wealthy, liberal-leaning institution in New England. Is it kind of the ultimate target?
Yes, this is about culture, not about politics or policy. They're attacking Harvard for the same reason they're attacking the National Institutes of Health or NATO or National Public Radio. They view these various institutions, which are at the commanding heights of Western culture, as having been taken over by leftists. And so they're launching guerrilla warfare against these institutions. And our job is to defend these institutions without defending the status quo. We can say that we believe in academic freedom and the freedom of expression on university campuses without having to reflexively defend everything that happened on these campuses, because they do need to fix themselves, and they can, but we are not going to allow Donald Trump to use them as a punching bag for his own political ends.
Yeah, Congressman Jake Auchincloss, I appreciate your time. Thank you.